So welcome everybody. We really appreciate you coming in this afternoon for the Miki.Martin.Roast. Only the old remember the Dean Martin roast. Yes, la-di-da. But Miki isn't too young because we know she's an oldies. I first want to thank Sam. Sam right there. If you don't know Sam,
try and stand up.
I will.
Sam is the one that is managing Miki. Married to Miki. Okay, no one manages Miki, but Sam took on the duty to do that, and we owe our lives to that, because if Sam wasn't involved, it would be more hell on us. But thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Riggsy, also sitting right next to Sam, is a blood relative, so
Who I let live.
yes, who's also been more familiar than Miki than any of us want to. So we really appreciate Riggsy coming in to share this afternoon with us. And I will have to say also, Linda, who's at the table, who is foolish enough, she's not family, okay, but she is family, and so who's known Miki probably about 2 years longer than I have. 32 years? Yes, I think you met her about a year before I did. So thank you all for family trying to take control of Miki for years and years, because it does take a village. Actually, it takes a state. It may even take a country to control Miki. So we appreciate that. And the one that I wish could have made it is Adam, but Adam is Miki's son. But he probably said, I've been roasting her for 40 years now. I don't think I need to roast her anymore. So Adam could not make it, but our hats off to him.
He moved to Indiana, one wonders why.
Yeah. See, she's already trying to take control of this event. Okay? We know you can do it better, Miki. Okay. It's interesting, I heard there was a retirement party for Miki yesterday, okay? And we're having this one today because she probably doesn't remember what she has, okay? She is an old geezer, okay? And I understand there's one next week, so she's not going to remember any of this, all right? Sorry, I do want to thank everybody that helped put this together. You guys did a really good job, and all I had to do was find my old tux. So, can you hear me?
Not really.
Okay. Just want to make sure. So, when I first mentioned having a roast for Miki, there were several people's eyes that lit up and said, God, I would love to, just roast her. And then you saw their faces go like, holy crap. If I roast her, there's payback. So they backed off of that really quick, but we do have some brave souls that have decided to risk this venture in roasting you. But before we get into that, I want to make a few appropriate, wonderful memories of Miki. We do go back 30 years. We started working with each other in 1987. She was a resident of the psychiatric hospital. I was working there. But one of the things, you started late in life, right? About 60s you started working in the field? But
I started using.
Yes, that's right. So she came in, I want you all to picture this. She came in second shift, hab tech, okay? In other words, she wasn't licensed clinician. She had to do all the grunt work that the rest of us techs had to do. But she walks in, second shift tech, with red suede shoes, red fingernail polish, red hair, and a flaming personality. Okay? And of course, you know, the accrediting body at the hospital is saying to us, no women can wear red fingernail polish, that will set all the kids off. Okay? Well, welcome to my world. When she walked in, it set every kid off in that place every time. So,
You did such a good job of putting them back together.
yes, yeah. Back in the day, there was seclusion, and we wanted to put you in there. Okay. So, as most of you know, Miki has been my wife at work.
You're here.
Imagine that for a minute. Okay. With that, one of the things that you can tell she's my wife at work, everybody has notes on their phone. You know, I have my wife's birthday on there, when that is. If I don't remember, I have, you know, all my passwords and stuff like that. I also have iced venti decaf quad espresso, no water, extra ice and extra cream. Mickey's coffee. Sam, you know that deal, okay? On my phone, and it's been on there for years. That's really sad, okay? So after we worked and met at Charter Northridge Hospital in the psychiatric hospital, I went out to Three Springs. Miki followed me.
Stop.
She stalked me out there. So let's picture Miki out in the woods, okay, with snakes, ticks, and outhouses, trying to do therapy with kids. Just imagine that one for a minute, okay? We did work so closely together. She got several gifts from me.
Oh.
It was an outdoor treatment program, and there were critters around, so every once in a while, she would have a snake on her chair. Well-deserved snake on her chair. And then a snake skin after a while, and that type of thing.
And
So,
there was a mouse in a baggie.
yes, we did give her mice, and so it was well-deserved, though. So, I will have to say, one of the best parts of my career was we separated for 7 years. I went and worked for the state, she went over to the county, and then she missed me so much, she tried to get me back to the county, and I was foolish enough to go. Okay? I won't talk about my Wake County days because obviously there's a lot of Wake County folks here, and you guys can reminisce about that and beat her up over that stuff. But I wanted to kind of wrap this part up, and we're going to do several folks that want to speak, but many of you know Miki for how brilliant she is. If you don't know that, you weren't listening to her when she was telling you that? Okay. Miki will make you listen if you don't, okay? So, with that being said, my wife at work is retiring. So, Beth, the nepotism issue is all cleared up now, right? Because, okay, just want to make sure. As my other wife sits over there. So before I invite the first person up, some of them are going to claim that they supervised Miki. Okay? And so let me ask you, do you really believe you supervised Miki? I think I supervised her on paper for about 6 months out at Three Springs, and then she threw me into the woods. So that didn't last long. So I'd like to bring up our first person, and the list is a mile long. A lot of people wanted to roast you, Mickey, but we had to cut it to about 49 people. But first, I'd like to introduce Mike Bellini, who was your former boss.
Yes.
Just wanted to point that out to you, former boss.
A lot of former.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
This is really a challenge, kind of narrowing this down to just maybe 5 or 10 minutes. As far as a liability issue, I have a paper here from HR that says you won't hold me accountable for anything I say.
I will read it later.
Perfect. So let me start with when I first started in care coordination, managing care coordination. I remember having my first meeting with all the managers, and I was sitting in my office and I was thinking, you know what? This is someone who's really thoughtful and non-judgmental and caring and supportive. And then I paused, and then I realized, oh, that was Jessica. Then I realized, Mickey, you were the one who was snarky, interrupted everyone, had to make a comment, rolled your eyes. And so then I realized, to your point, Dave, I'm in trouble. There's no way I'll be able to actually manage Mickey. I also remember, and some of you might remember, I did a presentation on one of our first presentations in care coordination, and it was about the notion of herding cats and how, you know, my role was to really begin to herd these cats, and you can actually show this visual of, so you'll see this where here I am herding cats, and then there is everyone else who really fell in line. And then I'm not a cat lover, but I learned the term a feral cat. And so for those of you that are not cat lovers, let me kind of define what that is, and then you can kind of figure out amongst everyone who's the feral cat. So, first, feral is an adjective defined as existing in a wild state, not domesticated. Some behaviors are commonly observed among feral cats. If the cat is not friendly and approachable, it may be a feral. These cats are able to look after themselves and only themselves. If trapped, they may hiss, growl, bare their teeth, or strike out. Although older feral cats can sometimes be socialized, it is a very long and difficult.
Oh, mother of pearl.
Thank you, Noel. We gotta take care of this stuff up here. So we got water. The next person up is Dr. Tanas, and obviously his role through the years in working with Mickey was to prescribe us medication throughout those years. So we really do appreciate that, Dr. Tanas. All yours.
Thank you, sir. I think a lot, you leave messages like this all the time.
It's a metaphor.
And you took some of my lines. Well, I was asked here to come and roast Mickey. We were together from 2008 till I retired,
Yeah.
2016. But as I looked far and near, I concluded that you are squeaky clean. And deserve no roasting from me. Therefore, I decided to leave the roasting to those who spoke before me and those who are going to speak after me. For you here in the audience, you need to know that despite appearances to the contrary, Miki and I have lots in common. For one, we both speak French. We like French cuisine, crusty bread, ham and cheese. We like the language, the places, the music. Vraiment, nous aimons beaucoup la langue française, le fromage et le jambon et le peuple français. Oui. Second, we worked together at various locations. I knew Miki's capabilities as the QMT program manager. That's quality management team, many of whom are here. I was surprised to see Tammy, Bonus, and Tobias, and Bobby, and Jesse, and several of you. So when Miki came to Alliance, I asked her what she was doing here, and she said she was working. I said, "Are you going to be a director? Because in Alliance we have lots of chiefs and directors and few that are directed." She said, "No." I was surprised by her humility. Miki could have done any director's job and done it exceptionally well. Instead, Miki wanted others to shine, unfold, be seen, and become leaders. And she was the person behind the scene to allow those leaders to shine and appear and be. She and I always talked about retirement. I think the first time we met, we did. We were not sure who would do it first. It's always really a good policy to keep the end in mind. And that's very important, to keep the end in mind in whatever you do. Miki, in this case, I beat you by a whole 18 months of retirement. We both went to UNC Chapel Hill as part of our training and education. We never met there, but at least we had a common background. In fact, I found out that Miki and my daughter had their undergraduate education done at also UNCG. Both of us tend to see the big picture. We put things into perspective. We do not worry about trivialities of life. They're always going to be there. We tend to avoid splitting those hairs, don't we? And talking about hair, we go to the same salon to have our hair fixed. Though she has lots of hair and I barely have any left. And very importantly, we both love large crystal chandelier that you people call chandeliers, right? I'll tell you a story here. To discover this love of chandeliers was on a Christmas Eve when staff were visiting my home and fun games were being played, during which Miki won one prize of a perfectly aged local wine bottle.
Oh, yeah.
Upon her departure from the house, she asked whether she could exchange the wine bottle for the entrance chandelier. No one there could carry that monster down, so Miki grudgingly left with a bottle of wine. Now, years later, Miki, I would like to make amends and provide what I consider fair compensation by giving you a souvenir brought to you specially from my hometown, Bethlehem of Judea. Something you can easily carry in your pocket as a symbol of our peace and reconciliation. It's not a chandelier made of fine crystal, but a piece of sacred olive wood carved by the hands of an old high school friend of mine.
I'm opening it now.
There was a bomb. It might have a diamond crystal inside, I don't know. But this is handmade, so it's not really perfect. And may this holy wood office be a source of perpetual blessing to you and Sam and your household. Most of our work together was at the newly formed Wake County LME. In 2008, Wake had the misfortune, maybe, of recruiting a man, Ramon. already made reference to him, Ramon Rojano, to replace Maria Spalding as director of Wake County Human Services. His first job was to split the service and identify an operational LME, right?
Yes.
The LME was actually placed in his lap, and he was the director. Ramon had no clue what the LME was all about.
I didn't set him up.
He retained
You're supposed to roast Mickey.
He really retained a consultant who was knowledgeable, and I don't know whether you remember Ann Wood, who told him what he needed to know, but he did not listen. He, in fact, stepped all over Ann like a bull in a china shop. He was also scared of Crystal Farrow. So he sent Crystal away and insisted he, not she, was the director. It was in this atmosphere that I was brought into the LME, which for the first time of my life was completely terra incognita. It was totally a foreign country. But I was ready to learn, and Mickey and Dave were my mentors when it came to QM. Karen S. Timke, actually, right? Was my help in UM, and Crystal helped me with the legislative background of what the LME was all about. I think I knew the rest, the clinical part was fine. However, to keep us confused, Ramon moved us about, really. We were able to make it to a CARF accreditation thanks to Mickey, Ann, and Crystal.
Yep.
But he decided to show us who was the boss. So he spread us apart, far away from Swinburne, to distant parts unknown at that time. I was sent to a rundown building in downtown Raleigh, a building that was ready actually for demolition. It had a musty smell, full of mildew, and when it rained, Carlyle's office was flooded with rivers of water. Carlyle saw it fit at that point and that it was an opportune moment to stay home till the water receded, the potholes drained, and the carpets dried and were cleaned. Many of our staff had breathing problems and got sick. Now you, the QMT staff, were not any better. Mickey and her staff were banished to some old offices in Millbrook in North Raleigh. The bathrooms there were soiled, the place was dirty, the toilet seats were stained. And Carlyle showed you a cover for the toilet seats that was not original. I have the original. Toilet papers and toilet seat covers were not existent. As a good manager, Mickey asked for toilet seat covers. Ramon responded this was a luxury that LME could not afford. He had to be finally embarrassed and humiliated in the presence of his executive committee to agree to spare $200 per year to purchase toilet seats. So for the sake of memorabilia, I precious toilet seat covers. Prepared by the QMT staff for me. But I would like to give this to you, Miki, to keep as a reminder. I know that you remember our struggle in getting the job done very well. I would like to call this poster Ramon's bathroom bill, which really was a precursor of McCrory's bathroom bill. Though we never examine anyone's birth certificate, gender identity, or sexual orientation. Finally, Miki, I wish you a joyful, exciting, and very healthful retirement. You may now plan to go to Paris, Marseille, Nice or Nantes, French Riviera, or French Quebec, which is close. This Monday, you should be very happy. You do not have to wake up at 6 a.m. anymore. But if you do wake up at 6 a.m. due to force of habit, remember, you have the luxury to go drive around really slow and make everybody really late. Enjoy your life and keep in touch. Thank you.
The reason why Dr. Tanas went in the middle of all this because he was too damn nice. This is a roast. So Sean is, Shriver's up next.
Dear Lord.
So for Sean to want to come back and roast you, Miki, means something. So appreciate this.
Figure it out.
Yes. Here you go, Sean.
I have to take medication while you're talking.
So I actually didn't want to come back and roast you. I have to say I had a much different experience than probably most with you. So I was a naive young director at Alliance, and luckily Miki was gracious enough to accept me, not talk and complain about how stupid I was publicly. That's one theory. The second is, like most flaming cluster bees, she may have just started to finally burn out after a while. So also, I'd like to take a moment to thank all the supervisors who came before me for the great work you've done. Thank you, Ms. Yeager. And I forgot for a moment that Carlisle was Miki's supervisor. So many of you know Carlisle. He may be the single nicest human being on the face of this earth. And how after 8 or 12 years of this, you managed to stay so upbeat and positive is beyond me. It's really quite remarkable. Like I said, I wasn't going to roast you. So the funny thing, my kind of first encounter with Miki, and I've heard all the stories, and she's quite legendary, and I would do what I could to avoid her when I walk around the building. Apparently at the time, we still had our old area director, Ms. Holland, and this was right after the mergers, and she was over at Wake talking about all the positive, great things that were going to happen in this new formed entity Alliance. And I'm guessing that Miki must have said something that was not supportive of this new mission that we were under. And I got a call to Ms. Holland's office, which was a little scary, saying, Sean, would you please go and talk to Ms. Yeager about her behavior? And I remember driving home praying to get in a car accident. All weekend being petrified, not going to sleep, trying to get hold of Dr. Tanas for a prescription for Monday morning. So I wait, and as the day goes on, I keep finding reasons not to make it over to Wake. I'm hoping that someone calls to complain about the merged system, a county commissioner, a county manager. Maybe there's someone who's about to do some horrible act that we have to intervene. Unfortunately, none of that happened. I had to face the music. I think at 4:49, I get my car, drive over to Wake, and sheepishly wake my way to the end of her her side of the building where they had her camped out, hoping the door would be closed and she'd be gone for the day. And that wasn't it. I remember she was sitting with Jessica. I said, Jessica, can you please excuse us for a second? At this point, I'm actually trembling, sweating, scared out of my mind. And I don't know how to begin to say this. There's a little bit of age gap between Mickey and I. I always want to be respectful of my elders. So I take a deep breath and say, Mickey, I really appreciate your sense of humor, but it's come to my attention that people are finding you a little prickly. And she looks me dead down and she goes, my God, no one's ever told me that. She could tell the sweat, pouring off my brow. She said, it's okay, it's fine. You're only the 17th supervisor who said this to me. I will do my best. And really, I have to say, it had been really a pleasure working with Mickey, although I have to say, I always kind of maintained this healthy fear. So one of the things that over the years that we would have to deal with was at Wake Med. So if you guys work in Wake, you kind of constantly hear that Wake Med is upset because too many of our patients are clogging up the ED, and what's the LME doing, and we haven't solved every problem related to mentally ill in the community. And I know Mickey had very strong opinions on what Wake Med should do to fix their problem, and she was always very upset that they wouldn't always take her expert TC guidance. And I would recall on occasions where Wake Med would call upon us to provide some support. And so, of course, I'd have to get on the phone and find Jessica right away to have a conversation and say, Jessica, can you please send some staff to Wake Med to help with the crisis? And every now and again, I had to have this conversation with Mickey. And again, luckily by that time, she would say her piece, explain to me how a proper ED should be run, explain that she's going to go over there and tell them how to do that, but then go ahead and always do what needs to be done. And so I have to really say, I've always just had the fondest memories. It was really a joy and a pleasure working with you. I can remember being kind of crushed, actually, and you always took it with such good spirit. So a couple of you know, what was it, two years ago? You hurt your leg and ended up getting a pretty...
Four.
Was it that long ago?
Time flies when you're sick with that.
That's right. A pretty serious diagnosis. And Mickey walks into my office, and I was actually very crushed. I'm like, how you doing? Are you doing okay? And she said to me, I feel like a newborn. I said, oh, that's so uplifting and positive. She's like, yeah, wetting my diaper and no hair. She didn't really say that. But the grace and the spirit in which she handled that and everything else thrown her way has been impressive. And I just want to have a moment or two to pay homage and honor Mickey for the work that she's done for Alliance and for the community. And I'm glad you're going to be around, and I'm glad we're going to be able to stay in touch. So thank you.
Thanks. I will bring that up.
All right.
Okay.
So I had a list of people that wanted, and I was telling folks, well, no, as people came in the door, can I come in Basher too? So we have new people on the list that want to get up here. So Ernie, would you like to go next?
Sure. Oh,
all right.
please. When's the room? Don't we have to be out by then?
No, we got till 9 o'clock tonight.
Oh, please.
I actually had no plans on saying anything today until I had breakfast with Mickey and Sam a couple of weeks ago, and on the way out she says, oh yes you are. That's a fact. Many of you don't know who I am, and you are no worse off for that. But I've known Mick for close to 30 years, and I believe I was perhaps her first clinical supervisor. And that was a joy. And
I'm sure.
we eventually shared an office complex together, and she is still there. She has bequeathed the rent, and I keep getting the rent bill saying you're behind. Roast is really a curious thing, isn't it? We stand around, we poke fun at someone until there's no more blood running out, and then we say I love you and give them a hug. If you can explain that to me, your mental health professionals, I'd be very happy. I was actually a little bit concerned in that I've never been to a roast before. I can't see with my glasses on, and when I take them off, I can't see the paper, so it's very confusing. So I spoke to a friend of mine, said, I've never been to a roast before, I really don't know how to behave, what I'm supposed to say, what do you do to a roast? He said, well, you start with the basics. Who's it for? I said, well, it's Mickey Yeager. He said, you got so much material. Sorry, Mickey. I started to be kind, but Brenda last night, she said, you can't be. You have to be nice. So some of you do know, I mean, if you recall, Sam, I think you'll remember this. The last time I stood up in front of a large group of people when Mickey and Sam were in the room was when I had the privilege of performing their wedding ceremony. And this week I found the wedding vows. I found the ceremony. I thought, wouldn't it be fun to kind of review that at this rather solemn... So, it starts off like this. I won't read the whole thing.
Good.
It's painful enough, isn't it? On behalf of Mickey and Sam, I'm delighted to welcome each of you today and thank you for being part of this great occasion. Blah, blah, blah. It's in part because of you that they become the people they are. Blah, blah, blah.
Great.
These are statements from you. It's right that you should take part in this wedding ceremony. Very nice stuff, I wrote it myself. But of course, Mickey insisted that they write their own vows. So we proceeded down through the ceremony, and she made her vows to Sam, and then Sam made his vows. Now, I don't have the actual document, but I have an original draft that Sam wrote that I think is pretty close. And I want you to tell me if I get this about right, Sam, okay? So, here's Sam's vows to Mickey. No tears. Dear Mickey, sorry to be sweating so profusely. Really don't know what I was thinking, but if I recall, you asked me to marry you in an lapse of judgment. Is this right, Sam? I think I said yes. I promise I really am sober. Now that all these people are here and we spent all this money, I suppose we better go through with it. So, I do. And they've been right. Wonderful memories. Is that about right, Sam?
Close.
Close? Okay.
Not nice.
Yeah. Well, we all have our memories. It won't take very long. My memory of Mickey begins as with many of you at Charter Northridge Hospital. I believe the year was 1990 or 91.
Oh, no.
And I actually remember the moment. Mickey was at the desk down at the adolescent unit. She was wearing a white blouse and she had a brown dressy kind of thing. She was very conservative that day, no red nails or anything. And first impressions speak volumes. And I'll be a little bit serious here, I won't get carried away. But, good doctor, what was your name?
Tanas.
Dr. Tanas, yeah. We have some of the same impressions, I think. I remember seeing Mickey in those first few days or weeks. I felt this woman is very attractive. She's very bright, that keeps coming up. And she was very eager to learn and truly humble. She wanted to learn. She didn't have a degree yet. And I remember her being very genuine. You know, today we probably use the word authentic, which makes me want to puke. There's one other, my glasses aren't too good. What is this word here?
Yum.
Yum. Yeah, she's yum, yeah. Actually,
I remember.
one of the things I like the best, I thought one way to roast Mickey is to come up with the things we like the best about her, right? I thought, what do I like the best about Mickey? And I came up with this. She's the one person that's older than me that's still above the ground. Now Mickey, you're really not that obsessed with what you look like and getting older. In fact, as you know, Mickey, she has an energy level that most 20-year-olds would be jealous of, right? But a friend of mine shared this story about her recently, that Mickey was at the dentist's office. She had a brand new dentist, hadn't seen him before. And as the story goes, she was in the waiting area and the nurse came back and brought her into the dentist's office. And she's sitting in the chair waiting to get her teeth cleaned, and she sees the DDS diploma up on the wall. And and the name is in full, and she looks at the name and she thinks, you know, there was a tall, handsome, dark-haired young man in high school with that very same name. I wonder if it's the same guy. A few minutes later, the dentist comes in. She hadn't seen him before, and she quickly banished the thought. There was this half-bent over, balding, white-haired man with glasses. She said, that definitely can't be him. And so they go ahead and she gets her teeth cleaned, and she's thinking about this the whole time. And when he finally takes his fingers out of her mouth, being the demure person that she is, did you go to this particular high school? To which he looked quite surprised. He says, oh, I did. How did you know? In fact, I'm still a booster. What year did you graduate? And he told her, and she said, you were in my class. And so he takes his glasses off and he gets a closer look and he says, what did you teach? And the reason I know that Mickey's not really that worried about her age is that the dentist is still alive. He does have a limp.
And is missing a finger.
He's missing a finger, yeah. But second impressions actually grow deeper. And I'll dare to wax a little bit serious here, not too much, but my second impressions of Mickey grew over the years. And there have been many years. And we have never failed to be friends. All the first impressions I had of Mickey, of course, were true, and you've all heard them on multiple occasions tonight. Blah, 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 thank you, yeah. But over time, I came to know her as an honest, reliable, trustworthy, and compassionate woman. And we kid about Mickey's interpersonal style with her patients because it's more like, you whine, I slap you upside the head, you get over it, and you go on. Yeah. Right? We all know that. Yes. Whining doesn't work. But really, as I see that, that's truthfulness. That's not a lack of compassion, is it? That's true compassion. In the book of Proverbs, Solomon wrote, the wisest man who ever lived, he said that faithful are the wounds of a friend, but deceitful are the kisses of an enemy. You get the point. In other words, your friend will tell you the truth, and that will really help you. And then the same chapter he wrote, iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens the other. I think that applies. That's true compassion. C.S. Lewis is one of my favorite authors, and he wrote this wonderful quote. He says, friendship is unnecessary. Like philosophy and like art, friendship has no survival value. Rather, it is one of those things that gives value to survival. I did a little research last night. I Googled it. I was just curious, how many people do we get acquainted with in our lives? And one of the more credible studies, ever since Al Gore developed it, the internet has been a source of truth. When you start in adolescence, the average American becomes acquainted with a handshake or a greeting or some level of acquaintanceship with about 10,000 people, which is quite a lot. Now, these are guesses. And at any one time, the study suggests that we probably know on a little bit more deeper level about 600 people. That's still a lot, but if you stop and think, and I did this is not too far off the mark. Only a few people make it past that 600 level. Only a few make a lasting or a life-changing impression on us. And we call those people what? We call them friends. And we're gathered around today, those of us who call you friend, Mickey. And we consider ourselves blessed to have that privilege. Mark Twain has this wonderful lecture, and he ends it with this: praise is well, compliment is well, but affection, this is the last and the final and the most precious reward that any man can win. My favorite movie of all time is probably The Wizard of Oz. You go to the end of the movie, remember the scarecrow? Scarecrow, what does the scarecrow want? Wants a brain. And the cowardly lion, he wants his courage. And what does the Tin Man want? He wants a heart, which of course will never be practical until it can be made unbreakable, right? Here's the measure of the heart, and I close with this quote. A heart is not judged by how much you love, but by how much you are loved by others. And we do love.
Surely you're going.
Carlisle whispers, God, I'm not following him. Bobby, get your butt up here. You're next. Bobby's coming back from retirement also, and we're a little bit jealous, but she has a history of writing poems. So, and then I know that Sam said that he wanted to speak.
You have nothing to say.
So if there are others, let me know, and then we'll do a wrap-up
Perhaps
because...
they could write it all
Yeah.
down later on.
So, for those of you who do not know how I'm connected to Miki, I worked on the QMT with the LME when we had the lovely mental health reform.
Pictures there.
But I knew and heard of Miki well before that, only because I lived in the state of North Carolina. All of my jobs have been connected to hospitals. I actually think I heard of her back, maybe even as far as Charter Northridge. But so I'm going to read this poem, and Sam, there's a lot of information in here for you. Your day has arrived. This day you have been waiting for, and now it is finally here. All I have to say is, Sam, we know your fear. Can you imagine this ball of energy not having to go to work? I think to tone you down a bit, your staff may need to teach you how to twerk. Oh, Sam, that will be the fun part, but it will be okay if you hide. In fact, she would ask sometimes, where is so-and-so? Well, I admit we sometimes lied. Sam, she really likes her pearls, but you may want to invest in something new. Because when those pearls get clutched, it's hard to really know exactly what you should do. You are really great to work for, and you often bragged about your team, even if we could hear you in the bathroom, letting out a shrill scream. I was a little terrified when I came to work for you, but you did know how to create a team. You would advocate and protect us to the end, which is nothing but supreme. None of us ever wanted to disappoint you, and when we did, it would be rough. There was really no doubt you could sometimes be tough. But we always learned something, and your opinion was not going to budge. But what I always loved about you was that you never held a grudge. You had a clear plan and vision, and this was always true. As long as there were no surprises, you were definitely there to guide us through. I do want you to do something though. I'm concerned and want you to check your eyes. I hear your left eye still hurts and that your eye twitch hasn't died. Oh Sam, if she has a midday trip, you really need to know. If it's to cook out for barbecue in a shake, you may want to find somewhere else to go. Miki, you will love retirement. You can do what you want to do. Oh, well, what am I saying? That's what you already do. Putting all All jokes aside, you taught us all so much. You allowed us so much autonomy, which no other manager could touch. The MCO will suffer now that you are all done, but it's time for you to leave this place and you and Sam go have some fun. No one else could pull it off, a multicolored hair show, kicking cancer in the ass. You're one of the strongest women I know. You are so outspoken, which is why I can say all of this. We love all your quirks and colloquialisms, and you will truly be missed. That day is really here for you to depart, but I will say from all of us, you will remain in our hearts.
It has typos?
I said it right, I'm sure you'll let me know.
Sam, would you like to join us up here?
Sure. I'll give us an hour.
Yeah. Oh, yes, come on up. Come on
Okay.
up.
Get a minute start.
She just said she only has 10 minutes left on the video battery.
Yeah. I'll keep it simple.
I am a better man for you. So we're right here coming back from Ocracoke to see your sister. Who's here? We're not married. We've decided today, after I helped her put down her parquet floor in her kitchen, and got a good look at her ass. So, we're on the ferry. She cranks back in her seat. She says, we can take a nap now. It's a 2.5-hour ride. You may get out of the car and walk around if you wish. Which sends me into this fit of laughter because Miki has plans, rules, schedules, and assignments. I have never seen a plan, rule, schedule, assignment, or criminal law that I really thought applied to me. And so I start laughing. She said, what are you laughing about? I said, you just gave me permission to walk around the damn ferry. She says, well, you can. And as I get out and walk around, I'm still laughing. Because I'm thinking, I wonder if she thought she could just keep me in here. I am one of the few, I think, that can make her do this. Like that. So as I come downstairs, after we're married, we have a half bath. And outside the window of the half bath, we have a redbud tree. And in the redbud tree lives a cardinal and a nest. And if you stand on the toilet seat and look out the window, you can see into the cardinal's nest. So I come downstairs. She's standing on the toilet seat. She's looking into the cardinal's nest and turns to me and says, with the most serious, absolutely concerned look on her face, she goes, I do not like the way that mother cardinal is treated. I don't think she's doing it right. And my reaction as I fall to the floor in laughter is,
when was the last damn time you were a cardinal? But, exactly. Here's my other one.
There's a love.
No, I get one more. I get the plumbing story. We had Quest piping in our home. I got her under the class action lawsuit to have it replumbed. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. When she wakes up at 6 o'clock, she's on. She's on. When I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm at idle. It takes a little while to get the gear going. And if you have a full bladder, you really do need to do, other things. So I'm trundling to the bathroom. The house is partly in a wreck because we're having it replumbed. They're almost finished. We have a plumber that's licensed. We have a town of Cary that has a permit. We have an insurance company that's not going to pay anybody until it's done, right? And halfway to the restroom, I get this. I'm concerned about those plumbers. They have not finished with your bathroom. I'm afraid they're not going to come back and finish this and get all this stuff cleaned up because it is just a wreck and it is driving me crazy. It hit me wrong. I go, what the hell are you talking about? We got a plumber. We got a permit. They can't get paid till they sign off by the insurance company. What the shit are you talking about? So, as I am relieving myself, I am contemplating my statement. And I come back out of the bathroom and I say, sweetie, I think I may have been a little harsh in my response to your question. Of course they're going to come back and finish. And I apologize for being so abusive and out of control and all the nasty words I used. And she says to me, and this is when I knew I had the right one. She says to me, that's okay. I knew I had gone too far. That's okay. I knew I had gone too far. And I'm like, I'm the only one that she will go out with in public and stay 7 paces behind because she is afraid that she is going to be embarrassed by my next action. So we are equally matched.
Sam, there are no equals. Not to Mickey, anyway. We only have a few minutes left, and I would like to invite Mickey up to, if you have anything that you'd like to say, and then I'll wrap it up afterwards. Okay, good.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's, hi. This has been an experience, Nobody's given any fake news yet, but I'm waiting. I know it's out there. I'm not sure how you all came to these impressions of me. It always stuns me when people are so misinformed in their anybody who has worked for me, I have always, I believe the line was, I can tolerate anything but stupid behavior. I can. You can do anything you want if you're not stupid. Not to say that what we've done this afternoon falls under that category. I want to be clear. But just, my days are, I'm done. I feel as if I have completed my work. I have been amongst you in hopes of raising your IQ maybe a few points.
Nowhere near yours, though.
Well, give me a break. My issue is for some of you that might be proportionally, large. So I really hope that you've all been able to learn your grammar better, your punctuation. What do we not end a sentence? With what do we not end a sentence? Right. You've all really done well. I am proud of my little people out there. I just really have a glow. It's just like you look at you and you go, well, I've done what I could. And there isn't a person in this room who I haven't done it to. Which is, oh, Glenda! Seeing all these faces. So, retirement's hard. It's happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad, happy. So, I want to thank you all for coming. I'm always kind of stunned to see people who I thought I'd run away, run off. So that makes me very, very happy for today. And I think that you've all taken a big risk to do this with an old person with cancer. And in case nobody's heard, I have to have surgery in my eye again tomorrow.
TMI.
So, no. Urine, Dave, urine. Yeah. Dave never liked words like urine, sputum. I could always work them into a sentence. So, I will think of you as they give me general anesthesia tomorrow. And probably tell them that I wouldn't have to be there if it weren't for you all. So, I really like most of you in this room. I'm looking at you know who you are. And you know who you shouldn't be. So. And Dave, you followed my instructions well about who could and who could not be invited. I thank you. Yes, we wanted no fistfights today. So once again, this is very, very powerful for me. Everybody who's roasted me, whatever. I like what you wrote because I, of course, will correct it and send it back. So, okay. When you have a minute, just email me. And Sean, has Sean left? I think Sean left. Sean misused a word. He did not call me prickly. That man called me hostile. Sean Schreiber had the balls to call me hostile. So that was an impressive moment in my office, let me tell you. So, again, you will miss my hostile, prickly, corrective personality. But I will be back as a contractor. And I'm sure I'll have an opportunity to redirect every one of you in the future. So, many thanks.
So we have some gifts.
Oh, goody. Who picked them?
Actually, my wife did. My real wife picked them. So get over that.
No! Ooh, ah. Quirksicle.
So, it does have
Yeah, take the paper off.
underneath the, yes.
I
but-
can't see because I have to.
And somehow that's our fault, okay? Remember that, somehow that's our
Do you
fault.
remember the Saturday Night Live skit from the Italian winery? You want to be a corksucker. Sorry. Okay.
Jane, you irresponsible women? No. So,
So,
as we leave here today,
I love presents.
Mickey isn't dead yet. So I guess we do have to love her as long as we have to. I want to say hats off to a wonderful career.
Oh.
No, this is water, actually. But as you come back in your consulting role, you still got rules to follow.
Really?
Yes. Well, actually, Beth is left, so
Are you sure?
you might not have to follow rules. But I want to thank everybody that's come out to listen to Miki being the center of the world, like you haven't heard that before.
Like that's
And
new.
we do really wish you well in your retirement, and we will have to make sure that we stay in touch. And as you move forward in your retirement, I refuse to go get whatever coffee that is for you from here on out. But we love you, Miki, and we will miss you.
Oh,
You don't have to go home. There's plenty of food in there.